Hello everybody, some would say I'm the reverse, and welcome to my review for The Flash, Season 6, Episode 13, titled Grodd Friended Me. Can't tell, I am losing my voice right now, so I'm trying to get this video out, but it will be hard, given I have lost my voice a little bit. So, let's get into this video. I thought this episode was easily the best Grodd episode we've ever gotten. I just thought it was such a strong storyline tonight with this episode. I don't know why. I just really thought they upped their game with Grodd this time around, and yeah, the episode was just great overall. I'd say it's the second best episode this season, this entire season. Second best standalone episode because of Crisis Part 3, which was probably the second best episode overall. I'd say it goes episode 7, then the Crisis episode, then this. I just think it's that good, and I think this is the best post-Crisis episode so far. Other than the Arrow finale, I'd say it's the second best post-Crisis episode in the entirety of the Arrowverse. I thought it was really strong. But let's get into the main stuff that happened, basically. So the episode started off very similar way to the pilot, goes through the clouds, which I thought was cool because this episode serves as sort of the first tease at what's different with this Earth, at least on the Flash. So it's like this series is kind of reborn, basically. So it's rehashing, I guess, the opening of the pilot. So I thought that was kind of cool symbolism. But Barry, he is going to put some flowers on his parents' gravestones, but he goes to the location of their cemetery, and it's not there, actually. So that's the first change in this episode. The cemetery is not there anymore. So that's sort of Barry's journey at the beginning of the episode. He's trying to figure out the changes of what's going on with Crisis. But before he can do that, he's interrupted by a meta attack. He goes and he finds Hartley Rathaway robbing a bank. We haven't seen Hartley Rathaway since Season 2, Episode 11. Or not Season 2, Episode 11. Season 2, Episode 17, I believe. Which was a time travel episode. And so, yeah, it's been a long time. Almost 4 years since that happened. Now we know Hartley comes back as a hero in episode 18 to fight Godspeed with Barry. But in this episode he is a villain. And there are some changes from Crisis with Hartley. He's a villain again. Not only that, but after Barry rushes in and takes his gloves, Hartley reveals that his previous battles with the Flash went a little bit differently. Apparently, Team Flash did something to Hartley, so he's still a villain. I don't know what that is, and Barry doesn't know what that is. And also, Hartley has powers now. So, yeah. He does this sort of sonic scream thing, sort of Black Canary-esque scream, and, yeah. He has powers now, which is a cool consequence of Crisis. We know that old villains are going to be returning and stuff like that, so this is our first look at that. Well, after Dr. Light, this is another look at those new twists on villains. Very similar to the old Pied Piper as a villain, but he just has superpowers now. So I'm interested to see how they're going to be using him in episode 18. It looks like he's going to be an ally. I'm not sure. We only have set photos from Canada Graphs, so we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But the main storyline of the episode with Grodd starts with Barry. He's working on Gideon, the mobile Gideon, who he's using to search for crisis changes. There's like 3 trillion crisis changes, which is crazy. but he has this little earpiece thing, and Chester is back, and him and Camilla are sort of Team Flash for this episode, and Chester, he tampers with the earpiece a little bit, and then when Barry puts it on later, it shocks him, and he goes into this sort of coma. It's revealed that that this is Grodd using this headpiece to bring Barry into his mind. So we have sort of a mindscape episode, which are always trippy episodes. This is no exception. We got a really good mindscape storyline. So yeah. Barry goes into Grodd's mind. He wakes up in a cage. Caitlin is there, and Thawne is there. This is pre-season 1. Um, so yeah, we have Thawne, obviously dressed up as Dr. Wells, and Caitlin. They're talking to Barry, but it's actually Grodd. So yeah, this is what I predicted was gonna happen after we saw the trailer for this episode. So looks like I was right there. We also got a mention of Ronnie, which was cool. Caitlin mentioned that Ronnie was building this new part of Star Labs and called the pipeline, which was funny because obviously the pipeline's a big part of the show. The first 5.5 seasons they've used it. But yeah, we got cool characters returning from the past, and then Grodd used them he talked through them like he has many times in the past. Um, think back to Gorilla City, for example. Harry, he talked through Harry. So that's just what we're seeing. At this part, he also talks through Joe. But since it's Grodd's mind, he can basically summon anybody to talk through, and we see this with Joe and stuff, and then Grodd uses his real body. But then Grodd reveals that he has changed. He is a new person. It's been a year since he got locked up in Argus, and he has changed because Grodd has basically been locked away. His mind has basically been shut down, and it's taken a year for him to regain higher intelligence. So he is a changed gorilla, basically, and he's asking for Barry's help to get out of this mind escape. There's this portal. It looks like a breach. It's being guarded by Solovar. I think it's pretty obvious that this isn't actually Solovar, but Grodd views Solovar as an enemy because of their conflict in Season 3. So it's not actually Solovar. Grodd, in his mind, just views Solovar as a villain. That's why Solovar is the gatekeeper that's guarding the breach and stuff. So Barry and Grodd, they are forced to beat Solovar to get through the portal and escape. And they do this by combining. They combine into like this amalgamation. Grodd with speed. He has this cool like blood lightning bolt on his chest is what it looks like. Really cool design. And I saw someone in a YouTube comment section call him Grodd Speed, which is just awesome. I'm going to be using that from now on to refer to this moment, which I think that's just hilarious. Grodd Speed. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be calling this amalgamation of Grodd and Flash. I saw some people calling it Flash Grodd or something, stuff like that, but Grodd Speed is just a cool name for it. But eventually they break free of Solovar and they get through the portal, and I'll talk more about that later when I get to the Chester Frost storyline, basically. So on the outside, Frost and Chester and Camilla, they're trying to get Barry out, and they realize that the Grodd's brainwaves and Grodd and Barry's brainwaves, they've combined, basically, and they have to separate their brainwaves at the exact point that they enter out of the portal, because they can only enter out of the portal as Grodd speed. But if they exit to to Earth Prime basically as Grodd speed, they will both die. So yeah, they have to separate them at the moment they go through the portal. So Chester comes up with a brilliant idea to connect it to Gideon, because Gideon can precisely get the millisecond right. She can pull them apart, basically. Um, so yeah, Chester showing off his genius ideas in this episode. Yeah, I really like Chester in this episode. I'm just gonna say that right now. This is easily his best episode so far. I'm waiting for him to become a permanent member of Team Flash, since him and Cisco, I think, could have a really cool friendship together. And I'm really excited to see him use um, his black hole powers. Obviously, that doesn't have anything to do with the black hole organization, but he can open up black holes and stuff. We saw this in episode 1. But yeah, this basically concludes the Barry Grodd storyline. Grodd is just running around now, and he's basically on Argus probation, so have him they have him under surveillance and stuff, but he is free to roam around. He's most likely going to Gorilla City. He mentioned that that's the only place he's ever really been happy, so that's most likely where he is right now. But Chester also, let's talk about him a little bit. At the end of the episode, he helped Barry find Barry's parents' gravestones, obviously, because they've been moved due to crisis. So yeah, uh, just Chester sort of getting along with Barry now. Well, not really getting along. They weren't really fighting or anything. Barry was just kind of taking out his frustration on Chester a little bit at the beginning, but it seems like they're being friendly towards each other. So, yeah, cool ending to that conflict, if you could even call it that. But let's talk about the Nash storyline for a little while, just to get it out of the way. So Nash and Allegra, they are building this machine. Well, Allegra's not really part of it. Nash is just using her UV powers. He's just basically using her to power up this machine that he wants to use to trap the Welleses. Um, I'm really not sure how that works. He's probably not sure how it works either. He probably doesn't know what exactly is going on with these other Wells. Um, but then uh, Sherlock ends up showing up in Nash's mind in this episode. Instead of Harry, it's Sherlock. So it's cool to see Sherlock again in Nash's mind, and he's basically doing the same thing that Harry was doing. Was it last week or was it? I can't remember if it was last week or the episode before. I think it was last week. He was just doing the same thing. He was taunting and haunting Nash. Nice rhyme there. But yeah. And then Allegra figured out after the thing exploded on them, Nash's bag fell. The photograph fell out of his bag. She realized that this doppelganger of hers has a connection to Nash. She storms out because she thinks it's kind of weird that whenever Nash is looking at her, he sees someone else, basically. I don't know. I didn't really like that part of the storyline that much. I didn't really. I just kind of wish Allegra was a little bit more understanding with Nash, but it's not the end of the world. I guess I just didn't really like that. The way she reacted to it. And at the end of the episode, we were going to get a resolution to this conflict, but right when Nash was entering the room to talk to Allegra, he's interrupted by Sherlock, still a vision, still being haunted by him, and then Sherlock says he is coming, and his eyes start to glow red. So, obviously, this is the Reverse Flash. I don't know if Sherlock is talking about the Reverse Flash, if all these different Welleses are connected within Nash's mind, and Sherlock is just warning that that Reverse Flash is either coming in Nash's mind or in the real world. So I don't really know what's going on there. We're gonna have to be explained that probably in episode 15, since that is the Exorcism of Nash Wells episode. So yeah, that is a WTF moment for sure to end off the episode. But let's talk about the Iris storylines. Those are the final two storylines, basically, to talk about. So, so yeah, let's talk about the real Iris, basically. Iris, in the mirror dimension, is with Eva, still trying to figure out a way to get out, and Eva decides to build this or get this machine she built right before she was transported into the mirror dimension, and she reveals to Iris that she doesn't want to leave because, well, she uses this device to open up the mirror dimension, or open up the mirror. She sticks her arms through it. It like burns her, basically. The real dimension burns her, and yeah, and so but then it's revealed after she's getting bandaged up and stuff. Um, Obviously, Eva has full control over the mirror. She uses it to basically talk to fake Iris, and fake Iris has these burns on her arms as well, so they're obviously connected. My theory is that this fake Iris isn't actually a copy of our Iris. It's sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of a piece of Eva that's in the real world. She's trying to use it to get out, and the only reason she can do this is because of Iris. She's using Iris as sort of an anchor of sorts to create this alternate Iris. It seems Iris has all the memories, though, so I don't know. I don't really even know what's going on, but obviously Eva has her own intentions. It seems they're setting her up to be the main villain. I was hoping for a speedster villain, but I'm intrigued. Eva looks like she could be a really cool villain, as long as they don't make her super cringe like Cicada. And, yeah, I'm just excited to see where she goes as a main villain, or just as a villain in general. I hope she's the main villain, honestly, because I want them to introduce this main villain in a natural way. I don't want them to just episode 15, Red Death shows up at the end, just out of nowhere, and he's the main villain of all of a sudden. But they've been setting up Eva. It'd be really fitting for her to be the main villain. It would flow really nicely with the overall storyline of the episode, or of the season, and I feel like at a later date we can look back at the season, at this storyline, very cohesive storyline, fits together really nicely. So yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'd like if Eva was the main villain, especially with all these interesting powers she has. She literally waved her hand and like um, healed fake Iris's arms. So yeah, she has all these interesting powers. Obviously, she can't heal just people, anybody. It has to do with the connection they have through the mirror dimension and stuff. But she can build the mirror back. She can look through mirrors. She can heal her mirror self, basically. So she has all these interesting abilities that could be used very interesting in very interesting ways for a main villain plot. And it would be cool because a main villain connecting to Iris, as well as Barry, we haven't really seen that as much. Well, I guess Savitar, but that's different, since Savitar wanted to kill Iris. But this literally Eva has a connection to Iris, and that connection is going to eventually connect her to Barry. At least that's my theory. But then our final storyline we had was with our fake Iris in the real world. She's talking to Joe, and she's asking for the file on Joseph Carver. I don't really know what she's doing with it, but Joe was not willing to get it, and I don't know if Eva is controlling this fake Iris, because Iris just went off on Joe. She started yelling at her and yelling at him and stuff. So I don't know if this is Eva's temper sort of seeping through the cracks or whatever, or something else is going on here. I don't know what she wants with um, Joseph Carver's file, but then Iris invites Joe to dinner, and then she says she wants to have dinner or lunch, excuse me, at 12. And then when Joe goes there, she says, "Oops, I thought I said 12:30." And she goes, sneaks onto his computer, downloads the file onto a USB drive. So yeah, she's being real shady. Overall, I thought this was a very, very strong episode. I'd probably give it a 9.6, 9.7 out of 10, somewhere in that range. Very, very good episode. Definitely the best post-crisis episode so far. I have so many questions on what's going on with all these different storylines. Every single storyline this episode, except for maybe the Barry and Grodd episode, every single storyline raises questions. What can Eva do? What are the lengths of Eva's powers? What is her end game? What's her connection with Mirror Iris? Or Fake Iris? I mean, who is Fake Iris? What is Fake Iris? And what does she want with Joseph Carver's file? And what's going on with Nash and the different Welleses? What does the uh, fake Sherlock mean by he is coming? Is he talking about Reverse Flash? Is he talking about the real Reverse Flash? Is he talking about a fake Reverse Flash within Nash's mind? I'm so intrigued on where the season is going. It's so good so far. Obviously, the last few episodes have been getting a lot of hate. I think that hate is unwarranted, since sometimes we do need those episodes that are focused on other people. And Grant was filming Crisis, so I think it was a good idea for Eric Wallace and the writers to focus on a main season plot line within those episodes without Grant. I'm glad they just didn't do some sort of Cisco filler like episode 5 was. No hate towards that episode. I love that episode. I just really liked that episode. But it was a filler, mindless filler. So I don't know why those last few episodes have been getting a lot of hate. Obviously, people really don't like when it doesn't focus on Barry. It's just unwarranted hate, in my opinion. So I feel like people will like this episode a lot. It focuses mainly on Barry's storyline. So, yeah. Tell me in the comments what you thought about this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for my Legends review. I haven't watched the episode yet, but I'll be sure to watch it. Probably tomorrow. It's getting really late, so I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll do my review on it, and then I'll be doing my Flash and Arrow 13th episodes ranked. So stay tuned for that. And then I got some extra videos to work on. Clone Wars Season 6 episodes ranked. Arrowverse mid-season finales ranked. Those will be up soon. I don't know when. But, yeah. I'm so hyped for next week's episode. Excuse me, not next week's episode. It got delayed 2 weeks from now. I'm hyped for next episode. Wally's back and stuff like that. Cisco's back. Got some Speed Force drama. I'm excited to see who the villain is. So, yeah. Tell me in the comments what you thought about the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See ya.